Kira, after 15 years with Tech Vantage, we're restructuring your position, Marjorie Collins announced, her voice carrying a thinly veiled sense of satisfaction. She sat across from me in a sterile conference room with Denise from HR perched beside her, both of them wearing the carefully rehearsed expressions of corporate regret. "The company's moving in a new direction," Denise chimed in, sliding a plain manila folder across the table toward me. "Your contributions have been invaluable, but we're consolidating the research division under the product development team." I nodded slowly, accepting the folder without opening it. I already knew what was inside: the standard severance package, 2 weeks' pay for every year of service, 3 months of extended health coverage, and a brochure of career counselling services I would never use. "I understand," I said evenly, my voice calm. "Decisions like this are never easy." Relief flickered across their faces. They'd clearly braced for tears, outrage, or some emotional outburst. After all, I was a 55-year-old woman being pushed out of an industry obsessed with youth. What they didn't know was that I'd seen this coming weeks ago, ever since that string of misplaced emails landed in my inbox last month. "We'll need you to clear out your desk by Friday," Marjorie continued, growing more confident in my apparent cooperation. "Please return your key card, company laptop, and phone before you leave. Your team will be notified this afternoon." My team. 6 brilliant engineers I'd personally hired, trained, and mentored over the years. The same team that helped me develop the distributed processing algorithm powering Tech Vantage's flagship product, AccountSphere, now used by over 40% of Fortune 500 companies. "Of course," I said, rising smoothly from my chair. "Is there anything else?" They exchanged brief, puzzled glances, visibly thrown off by my composure. Marjorie recovered first. "That's all for now. Thank you for handling this so professionally." As I walked back to my office, I passed the glass-walled executive conference room where the senior leadership team was gathered. Through the transparent wall, I could see Victor Lawson, the CEO, gesturing animatedly at a PowerPoint slide titled Q3 Revenue Forecast. This was the same Victor Lawson who had claimed credit for my algorithm at last year's industry conference, only mentioning me as a member of the research team in passing. I closed my office door behind me, picked up my personal phone, and sent a single text. "It's happening. Friday's my last day." The reply came almost instantly. "Perfect timing. Contracts ready. Dinner tonight to finalize the details." A slow smile crossed my face as I glanced at my calendar. Today was Wednesday. Friday, I'd walk out of Tech Vantage for the last time, and Monday would mark the beginning of something far more interesting. That evening, I met Gregory Sullivan at Meridian, an upscale restaurant discreetly tucked away from the Tech Vantage headquarters. As the CEO of Precision Systems, Tech Vantage's largest competitor, Greg understood the value of privacy. He had reserved a private alcove at the back, shielded from prying eyes by elegant Japanese screens. "They actually went through with it," Greg said, shaking his head after we ordered. "I figured they might, but cutting loose the person who built their core technology? That's bold." "Victor never understood what I truly created," I replied, sipping my water. "He saw the deployment, the user interface, the marketing potential, but the architecture itself? That was just tech stuff to him." The irony was delicious. 3 months earlier, I discovered something shocking. The patent application for my distributed processing algorithm, the very foundation of AccountSphere, had never been filed by Tech Vantage's legal team. When I confronted them, they brushed it off as an oversight, promising to correct the mistake immediately, but something about their response left me suspicious. I started digging through the company's internal records, which is when I found the smoking gun, a strategic memo outlining plans to claim the algorithm as corporate intellectual property, with no mention of me as the inventor. They'd been planning my ouster for months, intending to secure the patent under Tech Vantage's name once I was safely out of the picture. What Tech Vantage didn't know was that I had been quietly working on improvements to the algorithm, enhancements that boosted processing efficiency by 43%, and all of that work was done on my personal devices, outside of company hours. Last month I'd filed for a separate patent under my own name, complete with time-stamped development logs and comprehensive documentation proving it was my independent work. Thanks to Greg's introduction to an elite intellectual property attorney, the patent had been fast-tracked and fully approved. "The paperwork's all set," Greg said, sliding a folder across the table. "As soon as you sign, Precision Systems will hold the exclusive licensing rights to your patent. The press release goes out Monday morning, announcing you as our new Chief Innovation Officer." I reviewed the documents, though I'd already memorized the key terms. A 7-figure signing bonus, substantial equity in Precision Systems, and ongoing royalties for any product using my technology. "What do you think Victor's face will look like when he realizes what just happened?" Greg grinned, unable to hide his anticipation. "I'm more concerned about my team," I admitted. "They don't deserve to be caught in the crossfire." Greg nodded. "Handled. We've got spots for all 6 if they want them, senior level roles with significant raises." I signed the final page and closed the folder. With a single elegant stroke, I had secured my future, protected my team, and finally claimed rightful ownership of my work. "To new beginnings," Greg toasted. "And to owning what's ours," I added, clinking my glass against his. As I stepped out of the sleek glass headquarters of Tech Vantage for the very last time, my access badge already surrendered and my personal belongings packed neatly into a single box, I paused for a moment at the entrance. I glanced back at the building where I'd poured 15 years of my life into work, innovation, and loyalty. From the sidewalk, I could see the lights still glowing in the top floor executive conference room. No doubt they were already discussing how to redistribute my responsibilities, likely handing them off to younger, cheaper employees with a fraction of my experience. What they didn't realize was that within 72 hours, that same room would host a very different kind of meeting, a full-scale crisis briefing. Monday morning dawned bright and clear. I slipped into a brand new slate grey power suit, one I had bought specifically for this occasion. Right on schedule at 7:30 a.m, a black sedan from Precision Systems arrived at my door, ready to escort me to my new office, my first day as Chief Innovation Officer. The press release went out at 7 a.m. sharp, Greg Sullivan informed me the moment I settled into my new corner office, complete with floor-to-ceiling windows. Trade publications are already picking it up. Our comms team is tracking the buzz. The announcement was crafted with surgical precision. It proudly declared Precision Systems' exclusive licensing rights to my revolutionary distributed processing algorithm. It formally introduced Dr. Catherine Jennings as the creator and sole patent holder, emphasizing my pivotal role in its development and highlighting how my technology would power the next generation of Precision Systems products. Most importantly, it stated loud and clear, any company currently using the algorithm, including Tech Vantage, would soon need to negotiate licensing terms with Precision Systems. At exactly 9:15 a.m, my phone lit up with the first message from my former team at Tech Vantage. "It's absolute chaos here. What did you do?" The message was from Miguel, my lead developer, loyal, sharp, and always the first to pick up on trouble. I smiled and replied simply, "Check your personal email. All 6 of you have job offers waiting." Meanwhile, across town at Tech Vantage's headquarters, the regularly scheduled Monday leadership meeting was already spiraling into a full-scale disaster response session. Miguel kept me updated in real time. Victor Lawson, the CEO, had walked into the office to find both the General Counsel and CFO waiting outside his door, pale and visibly shaken. Copies of the industry press release had flooded their inboxes, triggering immediate alarms. By 9:30 a.m, the standard kickoff meeting had devolved into an emergency war room. Board members were dialing in from across the country. Legal teams were scrambling through my old employment files and digging up any document tied to the algorithm's development. "They're pulling every server back up from the research division," Miguel texted. "It's all being dumped into a forensic review for the legal team." I could picture the scene perfectly. Victor pacing at the head of the table, demanding answers from Marjorie and the legal department. The company's stock price had already started to slip. Investors hate uncertainty, and the press release had delivered it in spades. At 10:45 a.m, my inbox pinged with a direct email from Victor himself. "Catherine, there seems to be some confusion. Please contact me at your earliest convenience so we can clarify this misunderstanding." I forwarded it straight to Precision Systems legal team without a doubt. By noon, the industry was buzzing with speculation. Tech Vantage's stock had already dropped 7% since the market opened, while Precision Systems shares had climbed 12%. 3 separate tech publications had already reached out requesting interviews, eager to cover what was being dubbed the most dramatic talent coup in the accounting software sector in years. "How do you feel?" Greg asked, poking his head into my new office. I didn't have to think about my answer. Recognized. For 15 years I'd watched others take credit for my work, being told I should be grateful just for a seat at the table. Now, for the first time, my name was finally where it belonged, at the very top. My new executive assistant appeared at the door. "Dr. Jennings, the development team is ready for you in the main conference room." She hesitated slightly. "Also, the CEO of Tech Vantage has called 4 times in the last hour. Please let him know I'm in meetings all day," I said smoothly. "Our legal team will follow up with him about licensing terms later this week." As I walked down the hall to my first official leadership meeting, my phone buzzed again. Another text from Miguel. "Board just called an emergency session. Victor looks like he's about to explode. P.S. The whole team accepted your offer. When do we start?" By Tuesday morning, the full weight of my departure had crashed down on Tech Vantage. Without my patent-protected algorithm, the company's flagship product, AccountSphere, was crippled. The algorithm handled the massive data processing that gave it a competitive edge, and without licensing rights, Tech Vantage was left with 2 impossible choices: negotiate licensing terms with Precision Systems, rebuild their core technology from scratch, a process that would take years and cost millions. At 2 p.m, Victor held an all-hands meeting, the final appearance for most of my former team. Miguel's last update came right before. "Rumor is they're considering suing you." I forwarded it to our legal team, who replied within minutes, "Let them try. Your documentation is airtight, development logs, timestamps, personal devices. We've been preparing for this from day one." Meanwhile, I was settling into my new role at Precision Systems with remarkable ease. The respect I received was a stunning contrast to my final years at Tech Vantage. In meetings, when I spoke, people actually listened. No one hijacked my ideas, recycled them under their own name, or brushed aside my contributions because of my age. The engineering team's already integrating your efficiency enhancements, Greg reported during our afternoon check-in. Initial tests show a 51% performance boost, even better than we expected. I smiled. There's a lot I never showed Tech Vantage. Once I realised they were planning to push me out, I saw no reason to give them my best work. Their loss, our gain, Greg grinned. "Oh, by the way, we just got our first licensing inquiry this morning. Not from Tech Vantage, they're still in denial, but from Data Flow Systems. They want to make sure they're protected before the lawsuits start flying." By 3:30 p.m, Miguel's final report came in. Victor's all-hands meeting had been a disaster. The CEO tried to project confidence, insisting Tech Vantage would aggressively defend its proprietary technology. But the room knew better. Half the staff had already updated their LinkedIn profiles, sensing the collapse coming. One brave employee even asked Marjorie point blank whether the company had ever secured the patent. According to Miguel, she looked like she was about to faint. Victor ended the Q&A early. By Wednesday, the ripple effect had reached full force. 2 major clients reached out to Precision Systems, exploring early transition options from AccountSphere to our platform. Investors took notice. Precision Systems stock climbed another 8%, while Tech Vantage's continued its freefall. At 3:30 p.m, my assistant handed me a message, this time from Denise, my former HR rep. "Catherine, could we have a quick call to clarify some misunderstandings regarding the patent situation?" I smiled. "Please let her know all future communications should go through legal," I replied. Tech Vantage's spiral had only just begun, and I had barely lifted a finger. Through my network of industry contacts, I learned that Victor Lawson had finally admitted the full extent of the damage to the Tech Vantage board. They were left with 2 options: either license my algorithm from Precision Systems at a crushing premium that would obliterate their margins, or attempt the impossible, rebuilding AccountSphere from scratch without using any of my patent-protected technology. They've started interviewing for a whole new development team, Miguel reported during our Friday video call, where we discussed the upcoming transition for him and the rest of my old team to Precision Systems. Victor's telling everyone they can rebuild the functionality in 6 months. I couldn't help but laugh. It took me 3 years to develop that algorithm, and that was with deep, intimate knowledge of the system and the problem it was solving. "Exactly," Miguel said. "No one believes his timeline, especially after our entire team submitted synchronized resignation letters. The knowledge loss is catastrophic." That afternoon, Tech Vantage's legal team finally reached out to Precision Systems to begin licensing negotiations. Our legal team, following the strategy Greg and I had carefully crafted, responded with terms that were technically reasonable but strategically punishing, 3 times the standard industry licensing rate. A formal public acknowledgement naming me, Dr. Catherine Jennings, as the sole inventor of the algorithm. "They'll choke harder on the admission than the cost," Greg predicted as we reviewed the response in his office. Victor's ego would rather burn the entire company down than admit they fired the mind behind their core technology. Then they can burn, I replied calmly. Every day they waste trying to reverse engineer my work is another day we widen our lead. The following Monday, exactly 10 days after I was unceremoniously pushed out of Tech Vantage, I stood at the front of the conference room at Precision Systems, leading my first official meeting with my new innovation team, now including Miguel and all 5 of my former engineers. The energy in the room was electric as we mapped out the next evolution of my algorithm. This is how development meetings should feel. Anita, one of my senior engineers, remarked. At Tech Vantage, we spent half our time explaining basic concepts to executives who never listened. That's the difference between being valued and being seen as replaceable, I said. Here, your expertise matters. The meeting ended on a high note, but as we left the room, my assistant appeared at the door with an update. Dr. Jennings, there's been a major development at Tech Vantage. Their board just announced an emergency leadership change. Victor Lawson has resigned, effective immediately. News spread fast. Within hours, industry publications were buzzing with updates. The Tech Vantage board, having lost confidence in Victor's leadership after the patent debacle, had shown him the door. Along with him, Marjorie Thompson and the head of legal were also out, scapegoats for the patent oversight that had plunged the company into chaos. That evening, an unexpected email landed in my inbox. The sender, Richard Donovan, the newly appointed interim CEO of Tech Vantage. Unlike Victor's desperate plea the week before, this message was measured and respectful. Dr. Jennings, congratulations on your new role. I've been brought in to help Tech Vantage navigate this situation, and I'd like to open a dialogue to discuss a fair licensing agreement for your patented technology. We are prepared to publicly recognise your contributions and offer appropriate remedies for the missteps of prior management. Would you be open to a meeting next week? I forwarded the email to Greg with a single note, Phase 1 complete. His reply came back almost instantly, flawless execution. The board is already calling this your first major win for Precision Systems. Looks like Tech Vantage is finally learning the cost of undervaluing innovation and innovators. 3 months after my forced exit, I stood on stage at the National Technology Innovation Conference, preparing to deliver the keynote address. The audience was packed with industry leaders, tech journalists, and eager developers, many of whom already knew my story. It's my honour to introduce today's keynote speaker, the conference host announced. Please welcome Dr. Catherine Jennings, Chief Innovation Officer at Precision Systems and the inventor of the distributed processing algorithm that has revolutionized enterprise data management. The applause was overwhelming as I stepped up to the podium. Just 1 year ago, I had attended this same conference as part of the Tech Vantage delegation, sitting in the back row while Victor stood on this very stage, claiming my work as his own. Thank you, I began, surveying the attentive faces. Today, I want to talk about innovation, ownership, and the importance of recognizing the people behind transformative ideas, no matter where they come from. My talk seamlessly blended the technical evolution of my algorithm with the broader, more personal lesson about respect and recognition in the tech industry. Without naming names, I underscored how companies that fail to honour their innovators ultimately lose, not just talent, but the future itself. At the evening reception, several young engineers, mostly women, approached me for advice. One, barely 30, confessed, "Your story changed how I document my work. I keep personal development logs now, even on side projects." "Smart move," I said with a smile. "Your ideas deserve to be protected." As the reception wound down, I checked my phone and saw a news alert. Tech Vantage had just finalised its licensing deal with Precision Systems. The press release formally acknowledged me as the inventor of the algorithm, and while their stock had stabilised, it was now valued far lower than when I'd left. Exactly 1 year after they told me to clear out my desk, I sat in my spacious Precision Systems office, reviewing our latest innovation roadmap. Under my leadership, we had launched 3 breakthrough products, each powered by my algorithm, each gaining significant market share, much of it at Tech Vantage's expense. A knock on the door interrupted my thoughts. Greg walked in, holding a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. "Time to celebrate," he said, setting the glasses down. "The board wanted me to tell you personally before we go public. As of today, Precision Systems has officially surpassed Tech Vantage in market value. First time in company history." I smiled, not out of revenge, but out of a quiet, deeply earned satisfaction. "That's what happens," I said, "when you treat innovation and innovators with the respect they deserve." As Greg poured the champagne, my assistant handed me an elegant envelope. Inside was an invitation to deliver the keynote address at the annual Women in Technology Leadership Summit. The topic, "Owning Your Intellectual Value: How Documentation Can Change an Entire Industry." "You've become a symbol, you know," Greg said, recognizing the invitation. The cautionary tale of the executive who didn't realize what he had until it was gone had already become legend in corporate boardrooms. Even Richard Donovan, now the permanent CEO of Tech Vantage, had implemented sweeping reforms in how the company recognized and rewarded innovation, modelled heavily on the IP protection policies I'd established at Precision Systems. "It was never about revenge," I said, raising my glass. "It was about recognition. About proving that innovation isn't faceless. It comes from real people who deserve real credit." "To rightful recognition," Greg toasted, clinking his glass against mine. As the afternoon sun poured through my office windows, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. At 56 years old, I had finally found what I'd spent my whole career searching for, not just success, but acknowledgement. My name was now permanently linked to the algorithm that changed an entire industry, exactly where it belonged.